I was going, everybody. It's your boy A.O. Black, and we're tuned in to episode 2 of Black Talk. And I know you might be sitting there wondering, what exactly is Black Talk? Well, Black Talk is a show where I sit down with people from the city, and I basically ask them questions of what it is they do around the city. And, we just sit there and have a conversation about, things that we do, things we're interested in, tell a few stories, crack a few jokes, make a real friendly environment. All right, so today I have a good friend with me, a good brother, just a good man of God. He's an author, a cartoonist, publisher. He does everything. He's a good minister. Now, if you want to hear a good word, I suggest go up and listen to him. I have my man, Mr. Kendall Lyons, or how I know him is Reverend Lyons. How you doing today, man? You all right?
It is so good to see you, and I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, no problem. It's no problem at all. Like I say, I originally wanted you for episode 4. I wanted to get some other people involved who were supposed to be involved first, but some things fell through, so we had to move things up. And I think this was actually intentional.
Oh, sure.
It's always intentional when you're following what God has you to do.
Absolutely.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's never, oh yeah, you just by happenstance, what they be saying. It's actually intentional.
It is. No, absolutely. Yeah. That's why I'm glad to be on. I love doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's great. I'm like I told you before, I'm excited to even be doing this. This is something I'm supposed to have been started way back in 2020, and here I am, 2025, finally getting it going.
Which is so cool because you started early in the world of media and broadcasting, and so I'm so glad that you're doing this and that you're keeping it going and staying in it, staying with it.
Yeah, this episode 2, my man Al B over here at Vibe Lab, he was like, yeah, man, you did your first episode and you don't book two more days. I said last week, I'm not playing with y'all, man. I'm coming. I'm coming to get you, man. So let's just jump right into it, man. Let's just jump back to the front, introduce people who you are and tell them what it is that you do around the city.
Awesome. So you already heard Kendall Lyons, and I'm born and raised out of Dallas, Texas. I'm a writer. I'm a cartoonist, and I also do ministry. I'm a member at my wife Rachel, and I are members of Golden Gate Missionary Baptist Church in the Bottom District, where our pastor is Pastor Vincent T. Parker. I am also a full-time writer and reporter for the Baptist Standard. So, I do a lot of also cartooning as well there, right, and op-ed writing, and we try our best to cover news, just the facts, giving people an idea of what's happening in church life and in Baptist life, especially with, as it relates to local, national, regional, and international news, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I've always loved doing this kind of thing that we're doing right now. Yeah. My bachelor's is in broadcast journalism.
Yeah, mine too. Well, mine is in broadcasting, just media broadcasting.
See, awesome. And see, that's the thing. Like we have that passion for talking to people and being on the air and being behind the mic, and right, which is why I'm glad to be here. And the Lord also called me into not only the world of media but also the world of ministry also, because I got my master's in Christian ministry from Dallas Baptist University. Right. It was the same year I got married to Rachel, that was 2017 when I graduated.
You gonna make sure you shout your wife out at all times. I like that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Listen, this is marking 7 years right now. It's getting ready to be 8 in September.
Ooh.
I'll be 41 years old August. And so I was telling my coworkers yesterday on Zoom that, I'm going to be partying for the next 2 months. I promise to behave myself and not be on the news.
Yeah. But if I so happen to look up and see you on there, I know why.
Listen, only because I've had too much cake and ice cream and you see me on TV and I'm like, yeah, birthday week, birthday month.
Yeah, that punch kind of turn y'all up a little bit, man.
Oh my gosh. Hence why I'm always careful about what I eat or drink.
Yeah.
But so my work spans from not only TV, radio, and film, but also writing. I also have a comic strip called By and By, and it's loosely based off of myself. It's about an 11-year-old autistic boy on the autism spectrum, a little black kid trying to survive middle school and life. It's kind of the comic strip is kind of inspired by like the works of Calvin and Hobbes and Big Nate and the Boondocks and Peanuts. So it's kind of a mixture in my head of that kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
So So yeah, that's my life. I'm sure that I'm sure I've forgotten something, but that's the Cliff Notes version of my life bio.
Well, we got a little time on, so we'll get into it. I'm pretty sure if you remember, it'll come back up in conversation.
Yes.
So first question is really, how did you really get started into doing your cartooning and writing?
So as a kid, I have always had a passion and an interest for cartoons and comics and animated anything, animated films, animated TV shows. And when I was that kid that actually got picked on, even in my family, a lot for being obsessed with cartoons. Like, I had at the time, in the 90s, like I had cousins that were like, they would turn on the TV and they thought that Oprah was where it was at. But, I'm turning on the TV and I'm like, yo, Tiny Toon Adventures is on. So we got to watch this, So between that and then being that kid that was kind of different, I'm still different. What are we talking about? But that kid that was really different, pulling out a, newspaper, not only reading the news headlines, but also reading the comic book section or the comic strip section. And then, my, going into, collecting all of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic books and falling in love with the game. And so between video games and cartoons, comics, all of that, and then later manga and getting into anime, especially when Cartoon Network started running, Dragon Ball Z and Tenchi Muyo and stuff like that on Toonami, all of that just kept me, very grounded and interested in the world of cartooning and comics. And I did doodling, but I wasn't the best at it. So I stopped somewhere in between my teen years and high school years. I think one of the last pictures I ever drew were during my 7th or 8th grade, no, probably 8th grade year. In a journal, in fact, now that I remember, I did my very last journal and drawing was in 1998 in a journal that I totally destroyed because I was afraid of people reading what would be in there. I didn't get back into journaling, much less drawing, until around 2005.
Okay.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends was on the air on Cartoon Network. All the networks were blowing up. You had Kim Possible, Proud Family, all that stuff blowing up. It was something happening in the animation world. Yeah. And I was doing news coverage in the animation world, like covering animation news, writing reports and interviews.
What was you doing at?
I was doing it online for a place that no longer is a publication called Animation Insider.
See, I never knew anything about anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, of course I was young in 2005, but I didn't know they actually had like a news outlet for something like that.
Oh, they do. Tons of publications for animation news and for anything happening in the world of cartoons and comics and video games, things like that.
Well, I know they had like DreamCon and Comic-Con and stuff like that, but I didn't know they actually okay.
Oh yeah, you got Animation World magazine now and a bunch of other like online publications, and I actually was writing for them, like honestly kind of freelancing. I wasn't getting paid, but I loved what I was doing. And I was also practicing drawing in around 2005. Around that time, as I was writing, I tell people all the time that God called me into not only preaching that same year, but also called me into cartooning and into writing. And I was like, wait, what? All three of these at the same time? What? And
that's pretty heavy load at one time.
You know what? It felt like it at first. I didn't know that I would end up doing all three at the same time now. But, God had the plan. He was like, hey, this is what you're doing. I'm like, wait, what? I mean, received, message received, but okay, how? Like, have you seen my art skills?
Right.
And it's so funny because, now fast forwarding and then looking at how I've been blessed to be able to grow that skill and standing on the shoulders of some great artists, great writers, great journalists that have gone before me, great preachers have gone before me. And one of the pieces that I worked on was for Texas Baptist, where I did the illustrations for a book called Our Identity in Christ, Our Identity in Christ. And having a chance to really communicate these challenges of what it's like to grow up, and especially when you're going through puberty and when you're going through those changes, which is why my comic strips kind of hit those messages of being the person that God made you to be, accepting who you are, dealing with the feelings of inadequacy and flaw and things like that, something that I have a personal story behind, and how the Lord took all of that like self-hatred that I had and turned it into something positive and something redemptive and transformative. And so here I am doing the thing.
And it's crazy because when you first came to Beth Eden, that's my home church, where Dr. Pastor Clarence Preston is the pastor there. When you first came and you first started preaching, I said, man, everybody. I ain't gonna say just me. Everybody was just thinking. I'm pretty sure people were thinking like, Kendall's kind of different. But the first time you preached, it was like, all right, he's different, but he's good at this. He's really good at this. Like you got people to be like, all right, he's kind of nerdy, but he's cool. He's cool because he's good at this. But the more the older I've gotten now it's like the nerdy part is not even a factor anymore. It's not even like people don't even look at that as nerdy anymore.
It was kind of cool now.
Yeah, because like now everybody watch anime, everybody reads mangas. Like it's like now the thing that people used to get picked on for in school, now everybody does it. So like, was it really that bad, or were y'all just ashamed to really just come out and say, hey, I like this too?
Oh no, it was really bad. Like but here's the thing now. It's gotten better, but there's still certain corners of our culture and our society that still is learning, hey, it's okay to be that kid that's different. If you're
completely okay.
If you're that black kid, or you're that black young teenager or black young adult, and you're not just into rap music, you're into classical, you're into country, you're into rock and roll. Hey, shine, Brand, shine. Yeah, cause we, or if you're into comic books or video games or things like that, or any of those things, great. That's awesome. A lot of good people, Pastor Preston included, and people like my father-in-law, Pastor Lelius Johnson, and other good men and women of God have encouraged me and said, hey, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody else is most definitely taken. Why? But I was always the person, I never wanted to be like nobody else. I always wanted to be me.
Right.
And before, but what I was finna say was, we had a guy in school. I can say his name. He ain't gonna do nothing to me. Nor do anybody know where he's at. So we had a guy named Ashanti in class, our class. He was about maybe 5 foot right on the dot.
Right.
And he had a rolling backpack that he would let up, and he would roll behind him. And
he was that kid.
Yeah. And he would write, he would read his mangas and stuff like that. And people like, people were like, like, well, Sunday, why you always reading them things? And he's looking and snap at him like, well, quit talking to me. Quit talking to me. Or, like I say, he had that rolling backpack, and he was mean with that rolling backpack, man. He would have that backpack lit all the way up, and he would have it dragging behind him at least about 2 or 3 feet behind him. And you trying to rush the class, and the highway all clogged up and stuff like that. And he'd be like, man, Ashanti, man, move the backpack. And he looks at you, no. Be rude with that backpack, man. So it's like, all right, I can understand why people bothering you. You kind of rude with it, man. At least Buddy over here cool with it, but you rude, man.
I mean, you do have to treat other people, the way you want to be treated, especially if you're gonna be that guy, right? I think that there's something to that, right? Yeah. And that's something that I knew I had to learn too. I couldn't, as quirky as I was then, and as quirky as I could still be now. I knew, especially, kind of like off the Big Bang Theory with Sheldon, you can't try to pull off being the genius in the room and behave like Sheldon at the same time. That's my spot. That kind of
I mean, some type of balance.
But sometimes if you can. I mean, and especially you have to ask the question of, okay, why are they like that, right? Like, why do people act so peculiar around people or have an aversion to people? Yeah. And you start finding out, people have history. And one of the things that have helped me over the years, even in journalism, is to remember that everybody has a story.
True.
So you start asking questions, especially if they don't mind answering, and you're polite about it, and you start getting to know that person, and it's like, oh, no wonder they're like that. Maybe there's stuff going on in the home. Maybe it's some kind of defense mechanism for themselves. Maybe they're autistic. Maybe they have ADHD. Maybe they have had experiences. Maybe this is their comfort backpack. Maybe that you never know.
And I don't think it was more so about the backpack. It was the fact that we be late for class and he rolling his backpack like he in the car.
Like it's the airport, like it's DFW airport or Dallas Love.
Yeah, like he on the way to the flight, man. We got to move, man.
Yes. And then there are people that like, Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Because, like, look, I mean, I went to Skyline, graduated 2002 from there. And
the last dude I had in here, Trey G, I don't know if he went to Skyline, but he's from Pleasant Grove.
He does sound familiar.
And I was talking about how we played Skyline for homecoming this year.
Oh.
So he was getting on me about that because I said, we beat him by 80 points every time we play him.
Oh, my God.
He got mad at me. But that shout out to my boy Trey G. But go ahead.
Now, like Skyline was like a little town. And so the traffic was insane. So I couldn't imagine what kind of impatience I would have. Emphasis on impatience for somebody like dragging their backpack behind me. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's worse than driving. What are you doing? But no, I get it.
Okay, so let's move on. So when you first of all, let me ask this. As growing up, did you already know you were going to be into ministry? Like, I knew as a young fella, I knew that I was going to be playing the drums for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Or I was going to be into something dealing with music forever.
So I knew that I would be doing something in the world of media really early. Like when I was a kid, I was heavily obsessed into meteorology and weather forecasting. And so I did the whole, hey, I'm going to do the weather thing and be a weatherman for the rest of my life. I thought I was going to be the weatherman for the rest of my life and still, dabble a ton in the world of like news and covering news and watching it and keeping up with it. Yeah. And keeping up with, local, national, world headlines, politics, religion, all that stuff. But did I think I would be in ministry? The ministry question for me didn't come up for me until roughly the middle of my college years, like somewhere around went to Oklahoma Christian in like 2002 of August. And, I wanted to go to this school because, well, one, they accepted me. And then then two, the scholarship money they did offer. So I was like, okay, whatever, let's do it. And, I was, still trying to, grow in my Christian walk. I participated. I grew up in the church, and I participated in church. Went to Carver Heights, grew up there. It often led better. And the thing about that is that I didn't have a clue that I'd be called into ministry. Right. As a matter of fact, little story about how I even got into speaking in the first place at church. I absolutely hated being in the choir. I did not like being in the youth choir. I couldn't stand being in the youth choir. And so I thought to myself during the summer of one of the revivals, hey, I'm going to try my hand at being one of the youth speakers for the theme of the youth revival. Okay. And I'm going to stay doing speeches for the church, for the youth. When they have youth meetings, I'm gonna do the announcements. When they have youth meetings, I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna do the welcome. I'm gonna try to find something that will keep me out of that choir. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I worked it out. It was a simple plan, perfect. It kept me out. It was almost like the Lord was like, okay, keep doing it. But he doesn't know I'm calling him into preaching in a few years from now. So that's what happened. I got into it.
You sound like my brother. When you say you didn't want to be in the youth choir, He rather usher than do anything. Just standing there where he ain't got to do all of that would just get him. That was his thing. He was so bad at singing that he would be up in the choir stand lip singing.
You know what? That's what I did. Because and I'm gonna be honest. It was for the dumbest reason. I wouldn't advocate for people to try to get out of the youth choir if you believe that you're supposed to be singing and if God called you to sing and you know it, please do it. Like whatever God called you to do, please do it. Be obedient. Yeah. But I know for me, it was just. I had the most lamest reason to stay out the choir. My voice was changing so bad.
Oh, so it was cracking a little bit.
It was so bad.
Oh, okay.
And the irony of that is that when I was in our drill team, because we had drill team, right? When I was at Carver Heights, and I was in line. I was one of like the lead people, doing the calls and everything, and just drill team 10, all that stuff. Yeah. And we had a young kid who was like 11 years old. I was about 16. And we did the roll call. And every time, this one Saturday afternoon, we were doing this roll call. And this one 11-year-old boy, as a matter of fact, his name was Dominique. And when we got to him at the end of the line, he tried to deepen his voice. And our commander didn't like that. And it was like, nope, You got to do it again. I'm like, what is going on? We did it like 3 or 4 different times. Everyone was about to kill this kid. I mean, everyone was about to beat this kid up right here in the church foyer. That's when I told everyone, okay, everyone, like the commander told us to take 5. And it's like, okay, so we take 5. I pull the 11-year-old kid to the side. And I tell him, look, I get it. Give yourself time. It'll happen. Just do your regular voice. For all of us, for your sake, for my sake, for all of us, just do your regular voice. Just be you. I know you want to be like all the older guys in here. I get it. Your time will come. Your voice will change. It'll be fine. Here I am telling him this years after I wheeled my way out of the choir to speak, because that was where, and plus I loved it. I mean, I fell in love with speaking and just getting in front of the mic and encouraging the church and talking to, and it's interesting. I'm so glad too that the Lord prepared me behind the scenes. So much so to where I was prepared and trained and able to, if I'm going to, not just bring energy and excitement, but also accuracy. Yeah. Because I tell, preachers now all the time, I'm thinking of my cousin right now, who, over at Beth Eden. I encourage him and others, like him all the time, who's in ministry. Listen, preaching is like flying an aircraft. There's not a lot of room for error. There's over 200 some odd passengers on this plane. You have to know what you're doing. Make sure you're preaching what's supposed to be preached. Make sure you're properly, theological term, exegeting the passage, making sure that you're sharing.
That's a Pastor Preston word right there.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. So yeah, I didn't know I was going to be in ministry until much later.
That's crazy that you say you weaseled your way out of being in the choir when you can sing. That's what's so crazy.
That's the thing. I think maybe I'm shy.
I'm gonna say
the Lord leads. The only time you've ever seen me sing is if I'm like, okay, Lord wants me to do it. Yeah. Otherwise, I ain't gonna be out here.
You did it twice at Beth Eden. One time, I was playing the drums there, and you was singing. You was finna get ready to preach, but you started singing because you left the choir we was still playing from the choir left out.
That's right.
And then it was another time I was already in college.
Yes.
And I looked on Facebook and somebody had posted you singing it like, hey, Kendall is in here singing and he sounding good. I said, So I went and clicked on the video. I said, he do sound good. So I called my mom. I said, hey, was Kendall singing in the church today? He's like, yeah. He sound doggone good too.
Oh, that's so nice.
I said, oh man. I said, so just to hear you say you want to be in the choir now. My brother got him to start singing. It wouldn't go the way it went for you. But the fact that you can do it, I'm like, okay.
Too, I like it when it's with other people. Yeah. Like, I don't mind sharing the notes with other folks. There was one time at church, I don't know if you were there or if you had a chance to watch it or what, but Pastor Preston and I were singing the song Stand by Donnie McClurkin together after worship. He had asked if anyone, he just finished preaching, and then he asks if anyone knew the song. No one was speaking up, but I knew the song. And so I was like, really? So I go ahead and go, I'll do it. And so I start, and then we kind of do a duet thing. I actually had a dream about that happening a long time. Like, I was like, or I daydreamed it and saying, that'd be so cool if that ever happened. It happened.
That's crazy because and I'm glad you brought up Pastor Preston. Now those of y'all know that his uncle. That's his uncle. So they also look similar to each other.
I could play him on SNL if I wanted to. Probably not a good idea, but I could play him on SNL if I wanted to.
And I always liked you guys' relationship. You guys have a very good working relationship. You guys have a very good uncle and nephew relationship. It's very y'all relationship is very genuine with each other. Was it always like that when you was growing up?
You know what? It was. In fact, so when my parents, unfortunately in 2003 separated, even before that, I always got along real well with my uncle, with Dr. Preston. Okay. And, when my parents separated, there was a closeness. It was as if, once my dad, went his way, did his thing, unfortunately, my uncle, in a way, kind of stepped in a way, in a space, in a way, even though I still had some semblance of a relationship with my own dad. Yeah. To be in that relationship, connection of nephew and uncle, I'm grateful, and I'm still grateful for the connection that I had with him, because there were things that I was able to talk with him about.
Yeah.
I was able to learn how to effectively preach, what ministry looked like behind the scenes and on the scene. I learned a lot of do's and a lot of don'ts, and I'm grateful for that. It was several years of being under that leadership and being as patient as possible in that time and that training, and even patient with myself, right? Realizing that I'm going to get all of this all at once.
Yeah.
This takes time. Yeah. So, we've had a pretty good relationship for a mighty long time.
That's good.
Him and his family.
Because I wanted to bring, I'm glad we talked about that, because I wanted to bring up this story that you told us.
Yeah.
So, Pastor Preston you made a bet. Pastor Preston made a bet with you.
Yes.
At your wedding. Can you tell us that story? that's probably one of my favorite stories about y'all too.
So I bet you probably have heard it talked about at church.
But I don't think I've heard him tell the story. I've never heard you tell it.
So the way he's correct. That's number one. He is right. And my side of it was, in fact, that and this is for everyone else who's hearing this.
Yeah.
He was like, Kendall, if you get married, I'm going to dance at your wedding. So some of the backstory to that is because I had been single for a very long time.
Yeah.
And, I also was living a life where I wasn't out here for the streets, right? Yeah. And so, Pastor Preston and everyone knew that. And so, here I was, I was struggling in the dating scene, and I'm in my 20s, and then I'm like getting really close to my 30s, and I'm by the way grateful for the time that I was single. I had a great run, and it was a good run. My wife Rachel says the same thing for herself. Oh yeah, no, being single was great. I had a good run. It was challenging. Yeah. Certainly there were times it was challenging, but I'm grateful because it also trained me. I was able to cook in the crock pot, so to speak. I was able to bake in the oven, so to speak, and really mature and work on some matters spiritually, mentally, physically. I was able to get into a place where, okay, let me get some baggage off myself before I bring it into a relationship, because that's serious business. Well, during the times I was going back and forth with my uncle, pastor at the time, because I was under his leadership for 15 years. He then starts to tell me, man, Kendall, you get married, I'm going to dance at your wedding. Well, fast forward, not long after that, not too many years after he said that, I tell him, hey, Rachel and I have been going out, and we've been friends for years. We were friends years before that, about 4, or actually longer than that, 4+ years. We have 2 different versions of our together story, Rachel and I do. And that's when I told him, and I said, okay, so get ready to dance. And that's what happened. So yeah, that's what happened.
It was crazy. I was in college when y'all got married. I look on Facebook randomly, and there's a video of Pastor Preston dancing.
No way.
He's doing the what was he dancing to? Was it the Kane? It was a Kane Wayne with it. I think that's what he was trying to do. Oh my gosh, that was by far the funniest thing I've ever seen Pastor Preston do, because he could not. For those of y'all that don't know, my pastor has a lot of talents. Dancing is not one of them. Now, Sister Preston would dance you off the floor. I mean, she could be on America's Best Dance Crew or Dancing with the Stars, whatever you want to put on. If it's dancing, she gonna do it, and she gonna outdo anybody on it. I stand by that.
Have you noticed that, especially when it comes to us preachers, there's a lot of preachers, they have a preacher dance.
Yeah.
They dance a certain kind of
and that's what he had. He had his hands up trying to get, he was trying to get the beat. Now, he got plenty of rhythm. Don't get me wrong about that.
Oh, but sure.
It just, that left and right foot would not, it couldn't wang with it.
But that video, that thing should have gone viral, because I remember seeing that video. I was on my way to my honeymoon, and I'm like, I saw the video. I said, mission accomplished. My work here is done. And that's the news.
Oh, man. When I seen that, I said, that is so funny. And then, because I came home for the summer, and I said, Pastor Preston, where were you dancing at? He said, man, I lost a bet. I said, lost a bet? I said, you ain't no bet, man. I said, what you lose? He said, well, I always told Kendall if he got married, I'd dance his wedding.
He did.
He said, well, didn't expect for it to be so soon.
Yep. Should have been practicing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's why you can't say stuff. You can't be saying stuff. You gotta practice.
You gotta do something about that. I said, oh man.
It's so funny because he used to tell me to always stay ready.
Yeah.
And that's what preaching. And you would have thought.
And he married my cousin Raven and her husband Josh.
Yeah.
He married them. And he did not dance at their wedding. So Sister Preston and Sister Ingram was there. They went out and danced. Now I know Brother Ingram not gonna get up and dance.
Yeah,
Brother Ingram gonna sit there and just look. Now I give him that. That's his thing. I looked at Pastor Preston. I said, "You ain't going out there?" He said, "No, not this time. I ain't bet nobody this time." I said, "Oh, that's funny, man."
Oh no, you know, and that's the thing. Like he should have. It'll be great. It's so funny because sometimes we get so worried about. First off, one, I'm not much of a dancer myself,
right?
But I'll still try to cut half a rug.
At least get out there with some scissors.
At least, you know what I mean? More like a lawnmower.
Yeah. that was really funny. That was really funny. All right, so one more question before we get to our random thought of the day. So I had been kind of just thinking like, what can we really just talk about? You know what I'm saying? What can we really just do? And I was kind of nervous about it. So I asked God, I was like, what's something that you can really, we can really just really sit and have a real good conversation about. And one of the things that me and my friends, we all talk about in the game is I always tell them about a lot of church stories of things I've seen playing the drums in churches.
Yeah.
And so I was telling them about the story of how me and my older brother got kicked out the drums at Beth Eden.
Wow.
So, I don't care if you get mad at everybody. It's the truth. So, but let me say this too. Now, to the people that's involved in the story, there is no hard feelings with anybody. We've grown from it. We've all forgiven and stuff like that. So there's no hard feelings in the story.
Sure.
So me and my older brother were the two youth drummers.
Yeah.
Now normally it's only one youth drummer, but since it was us two, we're like, all right, cool. We'll share it. So one particular youth Sunday, youth week, we're like, hey, man, I said, hey, let me play the fast song because I'm the better drummer. I said, let me play the fast song because you're not really playing it right. I said, you play the slow one. I said, you normally always play the fast song anyway. I just get whatever song I can get. So he like, nah, he put the big brother card. I'm the big brother. I'm gonna play the drums. I'm play the fast song. I said, all right, whatever. So rehearsal, he messing it up. I said, I know Sunday morning he gonna tear this thing up, and not in a good way either. So Sunday morning he playing it, and Danny's back is looking behind at the drums. He's like, just shaking his head. I'm like, there's nothing I can do to save this. Like, there's nothing I can do to save it. So I play the slow song, and it's like, that feeling of somebody just did so bad that it's like you got secondhand embarrassment. Mm-hmm. That's how the whole church felt. Wow. That's how the whole church felt. So we get done playing, and the dude who's playing the drums for the big choir, he put us outside. Like, man, he said, why, what's wrong? What was y'all playing like that? Why y'all playing like that? And I'm like, I played the slow song. I had nothing to do with the fast song, brother. I know what you're talking about, but I had nothing to do with it.
Right.
So we playing and stuff like that. We playing. And we get to the end of the service, and they're like, hey, man, next month when we do the youth month, youth Sunday, we just going to have one drummer. And, I both going to play both songs, and whoever plays both songs the best is the one who win, who plays the song that Sunday. Well, I guess they figured he the better drummer. He going to probably always be playing, so he going to be fair. So I kicked us both off.
Wow. And
so I was like, that's not fair to me because I didn't do anything wrong here.
Right.
And so, I tell them all these different stuff. I'm like, yo, man, when I'm going to get a chance to play again? They never gave me an answer. So I say maybe 2, maybe 3 years go by, and I ain't played the drums since that time.
Wow.
I have not played a drum set.
You've not gone back on the drums at all? Even on like your own personal time?
Nope.
Why not?
I had no time to practice I would play after rehearsal or choir rehearsal or after church sometimes, but it wasn't like no real playing. It was just kind of just shedding around a little bit.
But you know what though? So when it comes to that kind of thing, like even after an opportunity is done, right? There's still something about doing for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like which when you bring your gifts, and even if you lose an opportunity, right? Whether it's at church or at a job, if it's something of a God-given talent or a gift,
Yeah.
especially if it's something that has helped you to for years relax, have fun, man, why not just play for you, play for others, and I think that, even though that happened and it was a learning experience, still having that time, if you're able to, make the time to get on some drums and have fun. If it's something that makes you go, there you go.
It was that's true. And so after that happened, 3 years go by, I didn't play. I ended up becoming the main drummer for the church after that. I think it's about time you got there, around that time you got there. But yeah, I had became the head drummer of the church.
Wow.
But, for a lot of people, it'd have been like, it would have killed them. It would have crushed them. You know what I'm saying? It would have made them not want to even do it anymore. It would have brought a whole negative thing to them, about a negative feeling of church to them.
Right.
To where it's like now where they call it church hurt.
Right.
And so a lot of young people, kind of see something like that as like, oh yeah, well, I'm done with church. I ain't never playing in church again. I'm not going back to church, for a similar situation. And with church hurt, I think it's a double-headed sword, because sometimes the person who experienced the church hurt is not necessarily they don't necessarily have church hurt. They just are against correction. And sometimes people misconstrue correction with criticism. And it's not always like that. And then sometimes the person who's doing the correction is also being kind of hypocritical behind certain things.
Right.
So I'm kind of like in the middle of both, because I see both sides, because I've experienced both.
Oh, sure.
So, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people my age kind of think, oh man, people your age too, kind of see that as an excuse not to go to church no more. It's like, all right, but we, you know what I'm saying, we go to the Wingstop in Lancaster all the time, but they always mess up our order. So we start going to the Wingstop in DeSoto. So why don't you just find a church the same way you change restaurants? You know what I'm saying? If that's the way you want to look at it. So like, what's your take on church hurt, or people church hurt, or how they should deal with church hurt?
That is an excellent question. It's something that, yes, I too also have experienced. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I've had many of experiences in church and within ministry as well that have made me go, yeah, that's it, I quit. Mm-hmm. I'm as my uncle would say, I'm taking my basketball and going home. and I don't even I play golf now. I didn't, that's a whole nother conversation. I was about to do a whole ADHD thing. Sorry. So church hurt, it's very real for people. Yeah. And, I certainly, again, like I always say, everyone has a story. And so it's an opportunity for me whenever someone talks about never coming to church.
Yeah.
I do want to know the why. And I want to know what are some things that they experienced that was so destructive, so damaging, so shameful, so embarrassing to them. And even if I agree with it, or even if I disagree with it, my whole thing is pointing them to what the Word of God says about not forsaking the fellowship, but ultimately making sure that they understand that their relationship with Jesus Christ should always override those moments, because we serve a God who sent his son, who experienced all kinds of shame and all kinds of suffering, that we are living in a world that's going to be full of that, and we're going to have to accept the realities of that. Not everybody's going to like us. Not everybody's going to agree with us, and the church is full of people who are in desperate need of Jesus, just like you and me. And with that being said, now that doesn't mean that we should excuse bad behavior. There needs to be accountability. Right. But we also have to be honest with one another and also with ourselves. Are you stepping away from this church, or are you stepping away from church altogether? That's why you have to ask those questions. That's why you have to build a relationship. And this is why discipleship is also so important. Right. So that way there's that conversation. Mm-hmm. I would love to, I would, if you were ever in that situation, you can always call me. You can always call Pastor Preston and be like, okay, let's talk through, let's walk through it. Why would you consider leaving the church? What happened here between yourself and brother or sister so-and-so? Even Jesus talks about how we should deal with people who offend us, and talking about pulling them to the side and having that conversation, and then how that process goes. It's in Scripture, but unfortunately we often try to do things either outside of scripture or through emotional things, and we a lot happens from that.
Yeah.
So I do think that, one, we as a church do need to take seriously the issue of church hurt, because it's one of those things where, and our Pastor Parker, said something and put it in words that I'm so glad he did, because I couldn't for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
That one of the reasons why people are quick to say, nope, I'm done with church, after genuine church hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Where they've been treated so poorly and have been just kind of exiled, so to speak.
Yeah.
And kept out the door, or kicked out. They expect church to be a place that is so unique, and so different, and so outside the norm of the world and of the culture, that for them to experience hurt from this place, from the body of believers that follows the Creator God, who sent his son Jesus to die on the cross for everybody and for all of our sins, past, present, and future, but then to have hurt from people that claimed this Jesus in their lives, but their lives are just as messy, but they're judging you. It messes with their heart and with their mind. There's confusion in the marketplace at that point, because they're like, wait a minute, this is church. This isn't CNN. This isn't Bank of America. This isn't the White House. This is supposed to be the church.
I qualify to be here.
That's the point. And all too often, so many people feel like, well, if this is the church, I could get that kind of treatment at the dinner table at the family gathering, which some of them do. Or I could get this kind of treatment at the job. And I need the money to pay for the but and all of that is such a complex thing. I feel so bad. For people who have experienced church hurt. And my encouragement for them is, one, please do not give up on coming to hear God and be with Jesus for you. Because regardless of what people have to say or do about you, your relationship with you and God, that is super serious and super personal. And don't let anyone keep you from the throne of grace. Never let anyone keep you from the house to come and fellowship and worship and praise the Lord. Even if your life isn't all together yet, neither is theirs.
Everybody's struggling somewhere.
Right.
I know people think that church is supposed to be this perfect place and filled with perfect people. The church itself is a perfect place, but the people inside of it are not perfect.
And we're supposed to all be going to the person, Jesus, to look more like him, to be perfected in him. And if we're there for any other reason outside of that, we could get some church hurt. We can get church hurt because, I didn't get to sing this song.
That's
okay.
actually happened to my mama one time. Well, it was it was a lady in the choir. She always wanted to sing a song because my mama would sing a song, but she couldn't sing like my mama could. And it's like, you can't get mad at me because, what I'm saying, they ain't singing your song. Well, they're not choosing you to sing a song. And so, they always cook at Beth Eaton too. So this particular time, she wanted to cook what my mama was cooking. I can't remember, was it dressing? Yeah, it was dressing. And so the lady was like, I'm gonna make dressing just like her. I look like, I don't know if you want to do that. And a lot of people were looking like, I don't know if you want to do that neither, because hers is fire. Now I don't eat dressing, so I can't even give you a good debate on that one. I don't eat dressing. I don't get it. It's cornbread. It's spicy cornbread, or I don't get it. So the lady makes the cornbread, makes her dressing. Nobody eats it. They look at my mama's. Hers is gone within 5 minutes of it being out. She got mad at my mama. Stopped talking to her. Left the church. I said, "Oh, that's not fair. You did that on your own, lady."
But also it's and that's a shame because it's food. Which is wild, because you look at scripture. There was fights there were fights over food.
Yeah.
There were fights over a million different other things too.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still dealing with that because we're still dealing with the fact that we live in a fallen world with people who desperately need to be transformed and changed, and need to to instead of be conformed to the world, they need to be transformed.
Yeah,
and they need to come to the Lord, get some stuff out there, get some stuff out your system and out your life and out your heart, get salvation.
Yeah.
There were moments where, moments in church and experiences with people in church that were very downright disappointing and sad and angering and embarrassing. But it's funny because I do believe that God prepared me for much of it, because I was bullied a lot in school, picked on, talked about, teased, and unfortunately, especially by folks that look like me. Yeah. So about being told, why do you act white? Why do you talk different? Why you dress like this? Why you behave like this? Oh, you're this, that, and the other, name calling words I'm not going to repeat on air. Yeah. And that really, my testimony, if you don't mind me sharing, it was one of a lot of self-hatred and a lot of, man, I'm going to do me. The rest of Black America going to just have to figure it out. Yeah. I don't care. Y'all figure it out. And, at that point, there was a lot of self-hatred, not only towards my own community, but towards myself. And, just over time, it just left me just being all kinds of just depressed and going through different things and just feeling bad about, myself and about life in general, even though I was like pushing forward with a smile on my face. Then one day the Lord approached me and said, yeah, you can't say you love God and hate your brother. And so, which is Bible. So I had to go, I went on ahead and decided, okay, Lord, I'm ready to just let this stuff go. And so I went to Christian counseling. I got around some folks who really understood me and connected well with me. That process made me realize, oh, God been this whole time preparing me for the foolishness when it should arise, and then having the ability to be able to deal with it, to do conflict management when things go down, and even breaking not only cultural barriers, but just barriers in my own life. Well, all thanks to the Lord, and finding out, oh, Black folks don't just go through this too. White folks go through the exact same thing. So when people say things about the Black church, it's a whole human thing.
It's everywhere.
Like when I was serving as an interim, and I was out of Beth Eden for a while because I was serving as an interim. It was for a predominantly white Southern Baptist church in Wise County, and Fairview Baptist Church in New Fairview, Texas, and real small congregation, small church. It was like a nice little small chapel in the country, and they were going through some stuff. Like they were back and forth bickering even in the middle of worship. And we prayed, we consulted and talked. We prayed some more and we talked. Half the church split, but the other half stayed. But the Lord was glorified because there were people that stopped me, asking me about culture and about where we're at in life. I saw people changing, starting to realize, oh, there's some things that we're about that's not even that deep and ain't got nothing to do with the Lord. So let's be about it.
And that's what it's all about, really. Just getting that connection and just really just being there just to worship. That's really what it's all about.
Yes.
Now, before we run out of time, I always have a part in the show where I say I call it the random thought of the day. And so I know, you're a big cartoon fan. I grew up in the 90s. I grew up in the 90s too. So I'm a Nickelodeon kid.
Yep.
I'm a Nickelodeon man myself. Everybody like, oh, Cartoon Network better or Disney better. I didn't come to Disney until, they got shows like Even Stevens, Lindsay McGuire, stuff like that.
Classics.
Yeah. When they got shows like that, I was like, all right, all that, the Amanda Bynes show kind of had started dwindling off. So I was like, all right, I'll come over to Disney for a little while. I was still half and half with Cartoon Network, but Nickelodeon still where my heart was at, man. So my random thought was, with the Rugrats, man, as much trouble as they had been in, Why didn't nobody call CPS, man? And if you notice, anytime they got into the real big trouble, Susie Carmichael was never around because her parents were black.
First off, so you know what? Susie Carmichael and her whole family situation was like near, oh man, I don't even know. It was like near the end of the original Rugrats series, right? And I think that was always on purpose. Like, to be honest, I think that the parents were never meant to be even on the show.
Yeah.
But I think they felt like, well, they're babies, so you got to have some adult supervision. Mm-hmm. Susie Carmichael and Angelica Pickles. So first off, Angelica was always their kind of stopgap to keep them from getting in trouble because, you know, it's Angelica Pickles. Yeah. And then you had Susie, and when Susie was always in the picture, guess who she was always beefing with? Angelica. Yeah. And so I think that for them, it didn't make sense until Rugrats all growed up. There was one episode where they kind of beta tested it. Yeah. Within like the newer season of Rugrats. It aired like in between 2003, 2005. And it was like it was still Rugrats. It wasn't all grown up yet. Yeah. But they ran one episode where they go into a closet and they click the light, which is supposed to like, you know, zap them into like their teen years. Yeah. And Susie, in one of the scenes near the end of this episode, you know, because they're supposed to, you know, they're supposed to like try to get to this concert led by this girl named, I think, Emeka or something like that. And you know, and all the Rugrats kids and Angelica were all fans, and Dill was there and all this stuff. Well, Susie was like watching over them, and actually, you know, was called by Tommy's parents to watch over them. Yeah. Because they had grounded Tommy for like the first time ever. You know, it was so what's the word for it? It was so shocking for Dee Dee that she was like, ugh, why did Dr. Lipschitz have to write that you're supposed to ground your babies? You know, that don't make no sense. You know. So yeah, I think that the reason why CPS wasn't called on them is because it was all on purpose. It would end the series. It's kind of the same. That question you're asking is just like with Gilligan's Island. Yeah. If the boat actually came to rescue them, it would end the series. Yeah. So if CPS came through,
they all gone.
They all gone.
And I thought about that. I was thinking about that when I was thinking about the random thought. I like just think about the parents. Phil and Lil Mama was the only one that was gonna survive jail.
That's true. That's true.
Everybody else was gonna lose their mind. They would have had Tommy's dad in a mental hospital. He's been in a psych ward. Charles Fenster, he I don't know what they would have done to him.
I don't know. You know something? I've always, you know, when I look at Chucky and his family situation, I feel bad for him because my whole thing is that sometimes I think that Chucky's dad is doing some kind of money laundering or some Wolf of Wall Street foolishness. Yes. I mean, just
he's always nervous.
Always looks. Yes, he always looks. Listen, the Super Bowl was on. Remember that old episode? Yeah, it was like the original Rugrats where they were like Houston and Dallas is playing against each other, and then old dude is like, we should watch chess.
No, that was the Thanksgiving. Was that the Thanksgiving episode?
No, this was like a regular episode. The Rugrats were it was Tommy and Chucky. I think Phil and Lil was in there, but Tommy and Chucky and all of them were playing football with a bottle of chocolate milk.
Yeah. I remember that. Okay,
and it was a messy episode.
Okay, I remember that.
Now the Christmas one, that was a hot mess too. I love the Christmas one. But it was crazy.
The Thanksgiving episode was my episode when they was trying to hide that turkey.
Yes, that was a great episode. And no, so you know what you're talking about. You're talking about like a network, Nickelodeon. You know, I watched that first to show you how far back I am. I'm so old. I'm about to date myself because there's a cartoon you probably never heard of it, but now there's a new version of it on Netflix, Danger Mouse. Okay, so that tells you. So this cartoon was based out of London, out of England, and it's a great series. And it's about this mouse who's the world's greatest secret agent. Danger Mouse and his accomplice Penfold, and they rode in this yellow car that also could fly and it could go underwater, but it could also fly in space, that kind of thing. It was cool, and they had to like defeat this Toad bad guy. It was very 00. It was very James Bond, James Bond 007 that thing. Yeah, and well, I was watching Nickelodeon back then. Back in the day when Doug first aired. I remember when Doug first aired, when Ren and Stimpy first aired. Which, by the way, I watched a lot of TV. I tell you, my house was like, as far as television was concerned, it was like the Autobahn, no speed limit. I have no idea how I had the opportunity and it wasn't even privilege. I just don't even know how I was watching The Simpsons, Ren and Stimpy, Duckman when it was on Comedy Central. Let's see, Angry Beavers. I love it. Well, I mean, of course, not that Angry Beavers and The Simpsons or Ren and Stimpy are the same thing. They're not. But yeah, no, I love those shows. Like classics like Rocket Power.
Yeah, that's my show right there.
Our Real Monsters. Hey Arnold. Classic.
Our Real Monsters was the one I did not like.
You did not.
I didn't like that one.
It was kind of gross for a lot of
Chicken.
people. Cartoon Network's Cow and Chicken. I'll be honest. I've always enjoyed Cow and Chicken because they were just wild. And I felt like that was the show if you just wanted to watch something where they were just wilding out. It was like, man, they are. Like, as a kid, I'm watching this and I'm like, I don't know if they should have said that. Like, you're watching this and it's like, ooh, why am I watching this? And then
so
Johnny
stupid.
Bravo was a hot mess.
Yeah, Johnny Bravo will most definitely be in jail right now.
Yeah, he would. No, he'll be canceled for real. You could not run Johnny Bravo today.
No, you couldn't do it.
Well, I mean, of course you couldn't. But you know what, though? I also felt, as I was watching as a kid, it was a cautionary tale.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time Johnny Bravo kept on trying to holler at a lady and was like a mess about it, that he kept getting knocked out.
Yeah. It was like, hey.
And I was like, I'm like 10, 11, and 12, and I'm like, I know how not to behave.
Yeah. Well, Reverend Lyons, man, I've enjoyed this. This is a great conversation. But before we go, I want to tell you one thing. Yeah. So I just graduated from college and came home, and I was dealing with forgiveness.
Yeah.
And, you know how you always say, I forgive him. I ain't got to tell the person. Well, you had preached one Sunday. Pastor President wasn't there. You preached one Sunday, and you was preaching about forgiveness. I heard the first 15 minutes of your message, and then the Lord just started talking like, hey, whatever you do today, call that person.
Wow.
Call that person. And I was really just going back and forth with myself all day. I called my homegirls. I said, hey, man. I said, what y'all think about this? I said, this is what I heard at church today. We always talk on the phone, like, they tell what we learned in church that particular Sunday. And I told them what it was, man. And they're like, yeah, well, you heard the Lord, what he said do. You better do what he said do.
Wow.
I said, all right. So my group had to go play somewhere, and I came home, and I ain't gonna lie to you, I procrastinated for a good while to do it. And eventually I ended up calling them, and I was like, hey, we talked about it, what I'm saying? We made peace about it. They were like, why you wait so long to say something, man? I said, man, I wasn't gonna say nothing because, it wasn't no big deal. We cool, we let it bygones be bygones, you know what I'm saying? It's all good, it was no problem. No water on the bridge. They're like, man, if you didn't hear that message today, would you have said something? So probably not. Probably not. So it was good that you said that.
Man, I'm so glad that, I often wonder if, this is a silly thing, but well, no, it's not that silly. It's just human condition. I sometimes wonder if I'm making a difference and if I'm making an impact, and I'm just praying, Lord, I hope I'm making an impact for your glory. So I'm so glad. That's so encouraging to hear. Many years ago that I preached and said something that pointed you to the Lord to do what he asked you to do. I'm so thankful to God for you on that right now. And to God for that.
Yes, sir. So go ahead, before we get ready to go, tell them how they can reach you anywhere on social media, how they can see your comics, how they can read anything that you got going, how or where you work, anything like that. Tell them
sure. So if you want to read any of our material, especially material I write, I'm on the Baptist Standard, so that's baptiststandard.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Cartoon Daily, then the number 1, so that's Cartoon Daily 1 on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook as Kendall Lyons. Feel free to follow me there. But then also, what else? I have a Substack page where I do a lot of writing and cartooning there, so you can follow me there on, let's see, I believe, let me pull up my web address here. I promise I'm not going to be long. But, so I am on Substack here. Here we go. Okay, so you can follow me on, I just had it. Come on, Kendall. Oh, here we go. cartoondaily1.substack.com. So you can follow me there. And I often try to put out a lot of good content that will be encouraging and things like that. And also I have my own website, so kendalllyons.com. So there you go.
So there you have it, everybody. Appreciate y'all for tuning into this episode. Black Talk, man. This is episode number 2, you know what I'm saying? We have episode 3 and 4 already lined up, so, you know what I'm saying? We rolling with the show. I told y'all last week, this is not my last time here at Vibe Labs. Shout out to my man Al B, the owner over here at Vibe Lab, man. He's a very cool dude, so y'all make sure y'all look him up and book a time if you want to do studio recording or if you want to do podcast recording. Either one, you know what I'm saying? Good dude, man. Make sure y'all follow me on all social media platforms at either AO Black, that's A-A-Y-E, Yo, Y-O, Black. I ain't got to spell black for you, do
Oh, no.
Then also follow me on Instagram at Black Talk. Make sure you follow me on what else? YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, like the videos, comment on the videos. What else am I on? Oh, make sure you follow the We Are Rise Up pages. That's We Are Rise Up. That's We Are Rise, RIZEUP. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. TikTok. We on TikTok too.
Awesome.
No, all social media platforms you can find us on. So until next week, y'all make sure y'all stay tuned to Black Talk.